Hi guys, I hope you're doing well. It's another pleasure to be in your timelines and appear on your screens. And this is another Ask Howard question, which is how do I become a leader, especially as a young person, and how do I know that I'm actually a leader? I like to begin this with a quote in the Bible that says, "The greatest amongst you shall be servants." And one of the foundational things that I've seen, especially for young leaders emerging from high school or from university or college, is that the very thought of being a leader was positional power. And this began in high school when you were given a name tag that you are the head of this. And in that aspect, you thought, and we were made to believe, that leaders are those with the title and leaders are those that hold a certain positional power. And I think that is where the very problem began with leadership as a whole. Because to lead is to serve. And for you to serve, there needs to be a greater calling that I believe for me is the most important foundation beyond any title, beyond any name tag that you hold, beyond any position that you are granted. Because positional leadership only teaches you the following. One, you lead by force and you lead by fear. That means when you walk into a certain environment or when you do a certain thing, everybody must listen to you because we are the leader. But real leaders are actually the ones that listen more and talk less. But positional leaders are those that must be listened to, even though, or rather, do not consider the thoughts and opinion of others. And for instance, one of the things I noticed with me personally, if someone asked me 15 years back, when I was 15, that are you a leader or do you want to become a leader? My answer would be no. Why? Because for me, leadership also begins with leading yourself before trying to lead others. But then the mistake that we generally make is we want to have a certain following or a certain crowd that is behind us. And with the multitudes behind you, then that deter how influential you are as a leader. And just before I go any further, let me also break down the difference between influence and popularity. Popularity says if majority of people, let's say now using the medium of social media, if you have over 10,000 followers and I have only 100 followers, popularity says the one with 10,000 followers is a good leader. You have 100 followers, you're not really cut out to be a leader. And that's where again the thinking pattern came with what? Positional power, positional leadership. But influence then says, for as long as there's one person who has been inspired or been motivated by the work that I've done, I've played my role. So the difference then becomes, how do I differentiate myself from the other leaders? The question would be, why do you do what you do? And why do you do it the way that you do it? Because if it's really about gaining followers, having more people following around, having cameras, having lights around you, that's great. You are a good popular leader. Let everybody like you. But influential leaders actually focus more on impact. And that impact has no certain metric or any measurement skills that says, if I did X and X and then someone behaves in this way, then that means that I have, achieved my role as a leader. As I mentioned, real leaders care about what the influence and the impact that they make. Therefore, that means we would see, even if I have 100 followers, for a mere fact that the 100 followers are genuinely following me because they believe in my cause and they believe in what I'm doing, I've achieved my goal. I cannot be comparing myself to any other, person that would say, well, this one has 10,000 followers, so we need to listen to him more. And one of the tricks about real leaders, that real leaders are not generally liked, perceived to be great or cool. Real leaders are boring. You know why? You know why they're boring? You know why they have 100 followers? It is for this reason. Is that real leaders make people question themselves, and very often people do not like when someone drives questions or produces content that is raw, that is speaking to their heart and soul. It's only a few, it's only the 10%, it's only the 100 followers that will get it, and that is great. But popular leaders would then say anything to make themselves trend. And that's where it differs. Real leaders do not care about trending. Real leaders do not care about whether, I posted a video, then it got 1 million followers, then boom, I'm a leader. Real leaders are just saying, for as long as I've served, for as long as I've got my message out there, for as long as someone heard it, and even if there's nobody that heard it, for as long as I know that I have done what I think I've done in my best capabilities, that gives me sanity. One of the realizations with me personally, having done events, having been invited to numerous events, was to never judge my work based on the reaction, right? Because very often we're looking at how many people are gonna say, wow, this inspired me, how many people are gonna say, this is great, this is amazing. I've always rather looked at and thought of the people that have heard my message, and they will probably never reach out to me, I'll probably never reach them, but from wherever they are, they're just going, I had that guy once and that changed my life. And that's when I realized the greatest of audience I need to focus on is serving my God. If he is watching, then that's it. Whomever does watch it or doesn't see it, it's really not up to me. So here are some of perhaps few pointers that you might want to consider with regards to becoming a leader, right? One, for me, leaders lead by a cause. There needs to be something greater, a significant thing that happens in your life. Significant, I don't mean an extraordinary thing that you have to fall from Mars. No, that's not what I mean. A cause can be, for me personally, my cause began with low self-esteem. That was my cause. That was my struggle. That's what I first wrote on. That's what I preached about. That's what I said to a whole lot of people. And so the question is, what is your cause? And what exactly are you leading people from and to? Where exactly are you driving us, right? And the second thing behind that comes after that is, what vision are you casting out? What are you proudly advocating for? My messages always went from be motivated and stay inspired. That was like, my slogan or my message in everything that I've done. But with the growth and the learning curve in itself, my vision has now become, I want to see people choosing their talents over paycheck careers. And in all my doings and in all my teachings and everything that I'll be constantly doing is really to remind people the innate abilities, the gifts that we all came with. And if you've noticed on my social media, there's a term I use, which is a talentpreneur, right? So already there's a vision that someone says, if I want to know or how to develop my talent, Howard is probably the right guy who can guide me. And by the way, just because one is a leader doesn't mean they always have the answers. Sometimes the only thing you need to do is just to listen to someone, just be there for them and give them a practical advice. And then the third thing is, do not lead by titles. I've seen so many people, young people saying, I hold a title in this and that and this and this and that. Why? Because the very thought of leadership that we've accustomed English accustomed ourselves to is positional leadership. The leadership of power, that if I hold a title, if I hold a certain belt, if I hold a certain whatsoever, this has become the metric and the measurement of what we choose to define as leadership. And that is absolutely wrong. So you either become a leader that is influential, keeping in mind that if you want to really influence people, you're not going to be popular, you're not going to be trendy, or you can choose to be a popular leader that everybody likes because you say everything nice, you say everything that would get you trending. And I think, how do you become a leader? No one knows. You just have to keep on doing what you're doing. There's no certain arrival at destination that deters that finally you've made it here. You're officially a leader. I don't think there's any metric like that. And also, we need to go back to the statement that I began with. Whom are you serving? Because if you serve more people and allow more people to have what they want, you're going to have everything you want, as Zig Ziglar would say. And Malcolm Gladwell also says that hard work, um, he says hard work is a prison if the work has no meaning, meaning that you can work all you want, put in all the hours that you want, but if what you're doing has no cause, has no meaning, it's not directing to your vision, it's not, speaking to the people who should be listening to your message, you're just gonna be keep on, doing what you do. By the time you're gone, we forgot you. And that's why there's a difference between fame, right? There's fame, there's flame, and all those things. With over time, people get tired and people get bored. But true leaders that are living out their causes, even today, there's no need for me to call them. We all know them, dating back from 19th centuries and even beyond that are leading us today. And how are they doing that? Through the ideas that they have shared. That is one thing. If you are a leader, you do not have. One is a vision, but also it's also the ideas that you're bringing alive. The truest of leaders are those who have seen fail and have managed to come over that. It is not the leaders that have become successful, because true leaders also understand that in my failure, there comes a lesson for me to teach someone to not go through either repeat the same mistake, if one may call it that way. So just to save it from here, I think I'll just leave it here. For those that want to be leaders or want to lead, just remember, you're doing it to serve and not to benefit your personal gain.